We're living in a fun house, mama. We're living in a fun house, twice the drama. I'm over on the subject that Peruvian llama, wearing my pajamas, and I know that I'm just living in a fun house, baby.
Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be looking at UNFINITY, the jokes set from Magic the Gathering. Not much to talk about. A lot of this set is basically joke cards. Like pretty much any set that has the word "un" in front of it tends to be a joke set. So you've got like Unglued, Unhinged, and all them, and they're both a testing ground for Magic R&D to like test out new mechanics and see how they work and whether or not they're actually good mechanics. While at the same time, it's a thank you to the Magic community as a whole, basically, for saying, you know, thanks for sticking around and have something fun that isn't too serious, you know, because we can take a joke. And at the same time, it's usually just something fun to break up sets and has a whole bunch of mechanics involved, like balancing things, and it's usually all done in good fun and jest. But an interesting thing to note about this particular set is usually the joke sets are just that, they're joke sets. And as a result, none of the cards can be included in any formats. The last joke set, like the actual joke set, they introduced the idea of a thing called Unmander, which is where you got a silver bordered card and it could now be used as long as it fulfilled the conditions of EDH, it could now be used as a commander, which was really fun and kind of interesting. And it could only be used for like a month. And then after that, obviously, it couldn't be used, but it was all done fun and it was a big support and everyone really enjoyed it. So they came out with UNFINITY, which they've decided to skew the mold a bit on this one. By which I mean, usually there are silver bordered cards, and if you see any silver bordered cards, you know instantly that they're not playable in any set. And even if you want to use them in a playgroup, usually you have to get permission from that playgroup. But in UNFINITY, they're all black bordered, and some of them are actually usable in Eternal formats. So we're going to have a crack at it. We're going to see what we get. And I'm only in it for fun, but I would like to get a Vorthos card. Now, the first thing that you'll notice is that it also has a box topper, and the fact that it came in collector's boosters, which is incredibly unusual. But the box topper typically tends to be something that is also new for an unset, which is a Shockland. So they reprinted the Shocklands, and they are now available in the set, which means that people really wanted it. But this one is a guaranteed Shockland, and it is Steam Vents. Nice, that's pretty good. So for those of you who don't know what a Shockland is, it's basically a card where when it enters play, you can either pay 2 life, and if you don't, it enters tapped. Otherwise, if you do pay the 2 life, it doesn't enter play tapped. But the reason why a lot of people really like it is for the dual land typing. So this one is both an island and a mountain, which means that anything that says search your deck for an island or a mountain, you can get this sweet little baby out. So that is our first. Now, another thing about this is that a lot of people have been really excited for is the fact that they come with a particular new type of foiling called Galaxy Foiling. Now, if anyone's ever played the Pokemon trading card game, they'll be familiar with the type of foiling, which is basically just, it's like regular foils, except for they've got little circles in the background. So that's something that a lot of people really want. And getting a Shockland in the Galaxy Foiling at the moment is expensive. So if you pull it, then usually you're guaranteed some return on your investment. Right, so I'll just go through it quickly. Once again, we'll be ignoring the commons, even though they're all nice and shiny commons. We'll be generally ignoring them. Now, an interesting thing is that you'll notice that some of them, whether they're common or not, have nothing, and some of them have this weird little acorn stamp here, instead of the usual sort of circle, like you'd see here. So that acorn is what they now use to denote whether or not it's playable in Eternal formats. If it doesn't have that, then it's playable, which is kind of scary. Like protection from robots. Robots aren't really a thing outside. But that's the way that they've decided to go. So we've got a couple. Now, like the last one where we had assembling contraptions, this time we're assembling attractions. Yeah, see what I did there? Yep, so attractions are pretty simple. Basically, if something ever says you have an attraction deck off to the side, it's shuffled. If something says build an attraction, you flip over the top card and you put it where you want. At the beginning of your turn, you roll a die. If the die happens to have one of the numbers on here, then you're currently at that attraction, and yes, you can be at multiple attractions at once. And that usually triggers the visit. If you happen to get the 6, I believe, then usually you get the prize. Or the visit will denote... Oh yeah, okay, the visit denotes how you get the prize. I haven't really played with attractions. This set sort of occurred at a time when I would try and organize things and everyone just seemed to be busy and all that. But our first raid is a matter of knife and death. Well, it's just knife and death, but I like giving it my own spin. And as you can see, it's not playable, so I'm going to flat out ignore it. Ride guide, which is in the galaxy foiling, as you can see. The galaxy foiling isn't actually too bad. I actually really like it. I just think that for some things, like for the attractions, it ruins it. But it's nice. And that's a common. And then, we have a legendary. We have Captain Rex Nebula, who I swear is totally not Kirk. I swear, it's not Kirk. The Captain, not Kirk. And of course, we also have the alternate art, or the fun art. So this one is DK, Finder of the Lost, which is actually not a too bad zombie commander. But they tend to be done in this sort of retro art. I believe the term I'm looking for is like ray gun retro. If anyone knows what that is, you can look it up. And, oh, cool. In our first pack, we got Richard Garfield, PhD. So, as a thank you, and usually what would happen is you'd get a card from the list in this particular spot, but they decided to do one better and have, instead of the regular list, they have a list of, the list contains cards from previous unsets. So we got Richard Garfield. Nice, he can lord it over us. We also have the Most Dangerous Game. And we have what is known here as, what's it called? It's called a planet? No. So there are full art lands which look absolutely gorgeous if you can't tell. But there are two kinds. So there's the planet view, or the land view, I think. There's one from the view of the planet, and then there's one from where you can see the actual planet. So this is one from the view of the planet. And then, of course, you've got a galaxy foiling version of it. That looks awesome. Now, and of course the obligatory squirrel token. Now, so if there's one thing that people have found, I'm just going to tidy myself up a bit. So if there's one thing that people have found recently, it's that for some reason, there seems to be a skewing of the lands. So more often than not, you'll get one of the planet views rather than the views from the galaxy. I'm going to have to planet side. Yes, planet side view. So you tend to get more of the planet side views rather than views of the actual planet. So we'll just quickly go through. Oh, embiggen. Apparently that's shooting up in price because people really like the idea of until end of turn, target non-brushwag creature gets +1/+1 for each super type, card type, and subtype it has. So, I mean, fair. Fair's fair. And then we got the land, which is just a big top, which adds one of any color that appears on your top, which would be good in EDH if it weren't for the fact that it's, not an EDH card. Not an Eternal card. Goblin Airbrusher. Guess your fate. And we got a Planeswalker. Comet Stellar Pop. Yes, my very bad Russian accent. He's legendary Planeswalker Comet. Totally not Cosmo or any of the others. So for 0, roll a 6-sided die. On a 1/2, +2, then create 2 green 1/1 squirrel creature tokens. They gain haste until end of turn. I'm gonna stop with the accent, sorry. For 3, -1, then return a card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to your hand. On a 4 or 5, Comet Stellar Pup deals damage equal to the number of loyalty counters on him to a creature or player, and then -2. That's, of course, when I'm saying +2, -1, -2, I'm talking about the loyalty. And on a 6/+1, you may activate Comet Stellar Pup's loyalty ability 2 more times this turn. So it's actually kind of good, even though he's also playable. And then, of course, we have an actual DK. Also in the Galaxy foiling. A blue ribbon, which is going to ignore because it's not relevant. And then, of course, we have the Art of Tuscan Whiskers. Oh, and Infernus. Infernus Spawnington the Third Esquire. Part of the Infernal Spawn. Because you have Infernal Spawn, Son of Infernal Spawn, and now you got Infernus Spawnington Third Esquire. Who's the dad? Great-grandfather, I should say. And then Devil K. Neville. Galaxy foiling, although it's actually really hard to tell. Alternate art. And if you want to know how to play this card, then I do believe that Loading Ready Run has a good video on how to actually use Devil K. Neville. Now we have a swamp. And, there we go. See, this is the planet view. This is a forest planet view. It's the forest moon of Endor. I'm a nerd. So let's just see if we can speed this up a bit. So we get rid of these. Katarina and Myra's Marvels. There's a whole group of these, one in each color, and no, they don't. As much as I would love it if each of them bounced off each other and Myra was like 5 colors, unfortunately she's not. She's 2 or 3 colors. I think she's 2. And Myra is 2 colors, I'm pretty sure. And they don't feed off each other. They just do their own thing, which is somewhat limiting and annoying because it would be nice to build a deck around that, but you can't. A prize wall, because what's the point in going to a carnival without a prize? Souvenir t-shirt. Gear Up, sponsored by Wizards of the Coast. That would be nice. Hey Wizards, where's my free t-shirt? I want a t-shirt. It says souvenir t-shirt. I want one. Angelic Herald in Galaxy foiling. So, Infernal Spawn of Infernal Spawn of Evil. So we have the grandfather, and now we got the sun. Solar Flora, intergalactic icon, again in the alternate art. Planes and a galaxy foil planes, both planet view. Now, what would be very funny is if we got Infernal Spawn of Evil in this next pack, because that I think would complete the triad. You know what? That's my hope for the moment. So we got the commons, the uncommons. Instead of Paradise Lost, it's Pair of Dice Lost. Very funny. Storybook Ride. Another Devil K. Neville, this time in regular art. Slight Malfunction. Unfortunately, that's common. Hey! We have a regular Vorthos. Mwahahaha. He's so pretty. Legendary Creature Human Gamer. Yes, this is Vorthos. This is what they look like now, and they are awesome. But wait, my Madra deck isn't all Emperor Bolas. There's an Umezawa sub-theme. I love it. She breaks my heart. The Space Family Goblinson, which was actually one of the first cards spoiled. Which actually isn't a bad card. I actually kind of really like it and would make an EDH deck of it if I could find a way and time to build it. No Infernal Spawn of Evil. Instead, we got the Earl of Squirrel, which is Squirrel Link. Damage dealt by this creature also causes you to create that many 1/1 Squirrel creature tokens, which is awesome, but unfortunately, silver border, we can't stick it in our Chatterfang deck, even though it would be awesome. Oh, and alternate art, Comet Stellar Pup. That's cool, speaking of creating squirrel tokens. And we have a forest and a swamp. Now, another thing to note is it is actually possible to get a Galaxy Foil Shockland. The big problem is that people have worked out the statistics, and if I recall, it was like 16% chance to get a Shockland in a pack of in a collector booster, and it was like 4% chance, I think, to get it as Galaxy or less. It was the odds aren't in your favor. Another thing that they introduced is the blanks. So you've got Fight the Blank Fight, which usually allows you to get a sticker, which is a new thing that they've introduced, and put it on there, and it does it. Whatever ability it has usually is reflected by the number of vowels, letters, what have you. Now stickers are a brand new thing, and stickers made everyone panic, and to an extent still are making some people panic, just for the very good reason that anything that is stickered is permanently stickered. I mean, it doesn't have to be, but because they've used a special glue so you can unsticker it pretty easily. But it's the problem is that if you put a sticker on something, it is permanently changed, and you can keep that sticker on, meaning that you can take it around. If it's a legal card like Comet, you can put a sticker on it, and it's permanently like that, which you can get around things like Pithing Needle and a few others, and some of the abilities are pretty broken. So it's a whole thing. So, sorry, that was an exchange of words, which honestly I don't particularly enjoy. Although they do have conversion in here, which I think is funny. Before criticizing, walk a mile, about 1.6 kilometers, in their head. That way, when you're a mile away and you have their head. I mean, that's a good quote, but I just like that they have the walk a mile about 1.6 kilometers. For the rest of the world outside of America that doesn't use the stupid imperial system. We use the metric system. Why? because the metric system makes sense. Trapeze Artist, a Spelling Bee, which I really don't like. It's not a good card. It's just no. Spinneret Arachnobat. I really wanted to like this card. It's a spider card, and I really, really, really want to make a good spider deck. But she just does not support anything. I mean, she's 5, she's 2/4 with reach. When it enters, open an attraction. As long as you control 3 or more attractions, it gets +2/+0 menace. Yay! She doesn't spit out spiders. She doesn't destroy things with flying. It's ultimately sad. Clocknapper, which is from another set. Nocturno, Myra's Marvels as the alternate art. And we have a Plains and a Mountain. So the Plains is the planet view. Is the planet, and the Mountain is the planet side view. Whee! Oh. So once again, we have commons, uncommons, and we have that. And Form of the Approach of the Second Sun, which I think is a very good riff. Like, okay, pretty much all the cards that the new Vorthos character is in, I absolutely love, with the because they all are they're tongue in cheek. They're the best kind of tongue in cheek. Like, you got Form of the Approach of the Second Sun, and you've got 2 firework explosions, which look like the second sun as it's approaching, because Approach of the Second Sun has Bolus's horns, with the second sun approaching the zenith. Yeah, so I think that this is really good. I mean, and the ability isn't too bad. Very good. It mimics Approach of the Second Sun very nicely. Art Appreciation, common. Ignacio, Myra's Marvels. As I said, there's 1 in each color. Brim's Barone, Midway Mobster. Nice alternate art. This is a great card and showcases what the last set was really about. So this is called Masterful Ninja. And it's literally just a background. So you've got like cogs, you've got steam vents and things like that. And the joke is, obviously, for those of you who aren't getting it, that the ninja is so masterful that no matter how hard you look, you can't see them in that frame. And of course, the joke is also that they're actually not in the frame. Hardy of Myra's Marvels, yet again. We have a mountains and a forest. Oops. Now, if we do get a shock land, it'll actually turn up in one of the rare slots rather than the land slots. So the last 2 lands, you're guaranteed to get a land and a galaxy foil of the land. But they won't be shock lands. Instead, they will just be the regular lands, just because, well, Wizards wants you to spend more money, let's be honest. Blue Ribbon, Soul Swindler. Standard Procedure, which is a mythic galaxy foil. And it's, yeah. See, another thing that really annoyed me is the fact that they have these playable rares and unplayable rares, which is fine. That's fine. But then you have these unplayable mythics, and it's like, well, what's the point then? You've got the mythic rarity, and sure, it's a really good card, but it's literally playable nowhere unless everyone agrees that it's for an unmanda battle or an unbattle. I mean, the only other thing it's good for is if you're making an uncube, and I mean that's fine, but again, it's a mythic, and it annoys me. The unusable mythics annoy me. Tuscan Whiskers, once again. Hey, we got a spike. We got a Vorthos, and now we have a spike. yeah, so this is Spike. She's a tournament grinder because she's a Spike. I also do enjoy how we have what is it? We've got Johnny and Timmy who are males, and then we've got male presenting, and then you've got Spike and Vorthos who are not male presenting or female presenting. Although Spike's a bit on the edge. We have Fluoros. Then we have a swamp. Planet. And then we have the island again. Island as the galaxy foil. Now, what may happen, and I may even do it on this channel, is I am really tempted to build a Vorthos deck. So, if you have any submissions on what kind of cards you think should go in the Vorthos deck, please message me, because I would love to hear from you. And I think if we can build a Vorthos deck together, that would be awesome. And I might even, and I'll probably play it on the channel. It'd be fun for everyone. Another souvenir t-shirt, a blufferfish, Jermaine, Pride of the Circus. And then of course we've got the guy who's on the box. And that is Ambassador Blorpity Blorp Boop. So there you go. His name is Ambassador Blorpity Blorp Boop, and he's a legendary creature alien advisor guest. And he's also playable. Woo! And he's actually not bad. And then we have Angelic Rocket, which was part of the other unset, or the previous unset. Now, when I say unset, I'm talking about like an actual booster box that you could buy, because the set before was unsanctioned, which was just a box which had a couple of decks in it. And yes, it had new cards, but that was it. But the gimmick for this set, aside from having the contraptions, was also the fact that it was actually merge before merge was a thing. So what you could do is you would play this card, which would be the base, and then you could play another card, which usually had half of it, and you put them together, and they would create a new card. Sort of like Big Furry Giant. If anyone remembers that card, that was also an unset. It came from the planet Glurg. Oh, it's a mythic. I don't think I've seen this one. Or if I have, then definitely not in this art. Legendary creature Alien Ooze. You may have It Came from the Planet Glurg enter the battlefield as a copy of X different creatures on the battlefield. It has their total power, toughness, combined mana cost, all text box names, art, and so on. That's kind of cool, but also it's unplayable. Which means that I hate it instantly. Oh! Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else. I would just like to say that I'd just like to thank my mom, my dad, my family, my friends. So, we did it. We did it, folks. We can call it quits here. We have a Galaxy Foil Stomping Ground. That's right. We have a Stomping Ground that is a Galaxy Foil. Now, Stomping Ground usually is the cheapest of the Shocklands, but the Galaxy Foiling makes it so much better. That said, I still haven't made my box back, but that still is a nice pull. That is something that we cannot moan about. That is excellent right there. So I guess that means that I have to build the Smith family Goblinson now, because I need to stick that in. Alright. Oh, that's the big pull. That's the big pull from this set. I pulled a lot of cards. I was really happy with the Vorthos, but I'm sorry, that's the awesome card. That's the one that wins. Beduckling Squirrel Whacker. Exchange of words again. Alternate of Roxy Publicist to the Stars. And the Galaxy Foiling. Flavor Judge. And now they're trying to make a brick wall on my property, fight a dinosaur to the death. Yep, good old Flavor. Most Dangerous Gamer. Forest, and of course the planet side view of the swamp. Oh, I'm still trying to come down off the high of the stomping ground. What's sad is I hardly ever play red green. I have, I think, one deck in total. And I have one deck in total is red green, and I have... Oh, I could stick that in Atraxa. That would work. Wait, no, she doesn't have red. Yep, there you go. I hardly have any decks that actually have red. Don't try this at home. Blank Goblin, we don't care. Mobile Clone. Now this is interesting because there was a infinite combo that was pointed out, and I can't remember it at the time. But you can have an infinite combo of Mobile Clone. I suggest you look it up because I honestly cannot remember. But I remember thinking that it was kind of janky because it required about 4 cards in a certain state of the board to be in. And look, hey, yo, we got Frankie Peanuts over here. Legendary creature, Elephant Rogue. So this is all the way from, I believe it was Unhinged. And sadly enough, as we see in one of the later cards, I think it's gone or something. Frankie ended up dying. We don't know how. But yeah, so Frankie's dead. Katrina. Then we have an island, planet view, or planet, and planes. Alright, and looks like we're almost down here as we head to the second last, getting rid of the commons. Then we have the uncommons. Solar Flora, this time normal. Spinnerets, once again normal. Far Out is the mythic, which again you can't use because it's... Yeah? Smith Family Goblinson? Yeah? Yeah? In Galaxy Foiling? Yeah? 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 Steam Flogger of the Month, because Steam Flog is a card. Grand Marshal Macy. She's actually not bad from what I recall, but again, we can't use her, and she's a mythic, so... And then, of course, we've got a forest and mountains. And finally, lucky last... Lucky last. Grey Merchant of Alphabet instead of Asphodel. So this is Gary's estranged cousin. Scavenger. Black Hole, which is usable and is actually not terrible. But the problem is it relies on attractions. Then we have Scooch. Meet and Greet Sisay, which I think is hilarious. Another DK. Handy Dandy Clone Machine. Because who doesn't love a good cloning? Tusk the Chief Engineer. And finally, a mountain and a forest. Well, that's it. Thanks for joining me on my outer space adventure. As you can see, there are actually a lot of cards in here. Some are good, some are bad. But what really irks me is the fact that there are mythics in here that are completely unusable just for the fact that they have that stamp. And that irks me to no end. But there are redeeming features, mainly that we have the last of the player types as a card now, which is Vorthos. And that makes me happy. So, once again, thanks for joining me. And may all your packs be good ones.